Welcome to the Keeping It Positive podcast, presented by the Positive Inception, helping people become more positive and trying to make the world a better place, one episode at a time. And now here's your host, Ryan Benoit.
Hello, hopefully you're doing well today. Thank you so much for tuning in to another great episode of Keeping It Positive. This is episode number 25, which is crazy. It's so much fun to do. And this episode, we had another special guest, Jordan Pennington. We've been friends since our days at Laurentian. And he's one of the most selfless guys you'll ever come across. He's always willing to help everyone in need. And it kind of translates to his career now. He's a dispatcher, ambulance dispatcher, and he's also a volunteer firefighter, and he's part of some search and rescue teams in the Parry Sound area, and he's just an all-around great human being. He'll take his shirt off his back just to help you, and he has a mentality of everyone before himself, and that's just the type of caring and kind-hearted person that he is. And we have a great conversation. It's always awesome catching up with him, but and just the words of wisdom that he has, I think without him even trying, just the person that he is, he's just that kind of guy that projects great things and projects great advice, and he has such a great outlook and positive perspective on life. He's just a happy-go-lucky, smiley guy, and I really hope that you guys enjoy this episode as much as I do recording. And I do have to note that for some reason, again, this episode had a hard time uploading on his end, so I had to record. I had to record some of it on my phone. So even though the quality might not be the best, the person in this interview is top-notch quality, and Jord is absolutely amazing. So without further ado, this is episode number 25 of Keeping It Positive. Hope everyone enjoys. Everything is great. Thank you so much for agreeing to do this. This is going to be awesome. And when I started the podcast, there's when starting something like this, you always think of guests that you want on, and you were one of the first ones that I thought of. And I think your story and who you are and how you carry yourself. You're just such an incredible guy, and ever since day one that we've met, you've always been so personable, and I can't wait to kind of get into that too, how we met and your whole story. And I think it's going to be such a fun and awesome conversation, and this way we're able to catch up too. So it's going to be great.
I'm looking forward to it, man. Thanks for having me.
Oh, no problem, buddy. And like I remember the first time that we met, and I was doing a speech at Laurentian residence, and you won an award for starting the emergency response team. And I thought I was, as a freshman, like when you were a freshman, and I thought that was such a cool thing. Like, you're so young and you have such a big impact already on the university and on residents. And maybe, like, I guess we can start with Laurentian because that's how we both met each other. But I think that's a kind of a cool story to kind of talk about.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, I thinking back to that time again. We were just saying like that was a while ago. I don't even know what year that was. It was probably 2016 or something like that. So that was a while ago now. But yeah, I didn't even. I think I found out maybe that afternoon that I needed to be at this awards ceremony thing. I didn't know anything about it until a few hours before, and I guess I just got nominated. So it was obviously an honor to get thought of that way and put in a nomination by somebody. So that was awesome. But then to win it as well, that was kind of a shock. And then just to start that connection with a bunch of people. Like I remember connecting a lot more with Bull and everybody there at that time too. And then I met a friend in you, and it's lasted from till now and for years to come. So that it was even more special.
And yeah, that's how things work sometimes when things happen and unexpected events occur, and you meet friends, and I think we would have probably crossed paths eventually, just with the whole Laurentian ties, but like when watching you win that award and having Bull talk to me about you, and I was like, I gotta meet this guy, and he's such an incredible guy, and I think like not just because of the person you are, but the initiative that you took on, right, through your whole university, and I kind of wanted to ask a little bit about like what inspired you to like keep the LU cert going or create that, and what was the whole what was the whole thought process with that, and why did you want to implement it?
Yeah, I guess the easy answer is I grew up around emergency services. My dad was a firefighter. He just recently retired this year, so it's kind of always been my life, always been an interest. So um, I was kind of just drawn towards that, and I saw that that was an opportunity at other universities I was looking at. So um, I'm not one to really sit still and say take no for an answer, and I think that's probably where I've gotten myself to now because of that. I've got myself in trouble probably too from that approach, but um, I started chatting with my roommate who was also in the kinesiology program, um, and I was taking outdoor adventure leadership. So we had a lot of the same classes. We were in SSR, so we were in the exact same room, probably 80% of our weekdays, and he was willing to kind of help out start the approach, I guess, or bring it to Laurentian to see if that was even an option. He had some lifeguard background, and I had some guiding background from being up here in Parry Sound, and yeah, so we formulated some ideas, stayed up up late at night, and tried to write somewhat of a believable proposal to say, hey, this is worth your time, and we I don't know what we would have done if they said no, because we stayed up far too late and put way too many hours away from school and into that. But um, yeah, so we brought it to the SGA at the time. We brought it to Sarah, and she was a huge supporter of it and made sure we were ready to bring it to the university. Um, we had a model. We had talked to a bunch of different providers and stuff like that. And again, this is just more, we're interested in this stuff at the time, but we're also wanting to make this happen, and kind of had a vision. So we chased that, and eventually brought it to Laurentian, um, to Nicole and David up in security. And then they suggested that we start small, and so we started just with Safe Walk, and that became kind of the grassroots, the foundation of what it became. I guess is what it's become now. And so Safe Walk was an accompanied walk home program, like people coming home late from class, and pub obviously with the different folks at pubs, and the different managers supported that, and just made sure just there was kind of some eyes and ears to keep people safe, walking to their cars, walking back to their res, and stuff like that. We always had the goal to get into the cert side of things, and that was our end goal. We had it, I guess, hung up on a wall almost to say that this is what we want to achieve. And Safe Walk was great. We met a lot of great people, had a lot of great volunteers working with us, and we helped a lot of people, and seemed to have a pretty good rapport with administration, but also just the student body. So that meant a lot. Um, and then I quickly learned that I was focusing on Safe Walk a little too much, and my academics started dropping. So I had some tougher meetings and some things that I needed to work a lot harder on than Safe Walk for a bit, or I wasn't coming back to Laurentian. And so I worked my butt off, and I did that, and I ended up being able to stay at Laurentian. That was great, and I changed my mindset. Let's say is to you got to balance your time between both of them. Had a
Mhm.
couple personal switches in school, like I switched up my program a bit. Figured that it wasn't really what I wanted to get into, so I switched out of ADVL, and then I got into a different, more environmental program at that point, environmental studies, for a bit, and then I guess the harebrained scheme of let's pursue even more with Safe Walk, and let's start this emergency response model, because that turned out so well before, and academics had figured themselves out. And I was in a program where I felt like I by no means was it easier, and I don't want to downplay that, but I felt like I had a bit more of a handle on it at that point, and I knew kind of where I wanted to be, and that was definitely at Laurentian. So we pursued that, and my roommate that helped started it kind of went his own way. So we another couple late nights with a bunch of different people, and those are the people who ended up making up Lucert and the program. So, and then from there, it was pretty much just a blur. Like, it was a lot of hard work with different providers and getting different approvals and trainings and just finding people. But somehow we started it, and I try to keep tabs on them now, but somehow they're still there today, which is awesome.
That's amazing. And there's so many things that what you said that I think there's so many valuable lessons. And one is you start small with the safe walk, and then you you grow that into something bigger and better, right? And then the emergency component of it as well. And another one is you realize quickly that you have to have a good time management. Whatever you do, even though they're both important, like it's important to manage school. It's important to manage the like what you started as well, right? And I think like that's so valuable in life to be able to realize that like, okay, something's slipping, you got to make adjustments, and that's okay, right? And then you figured out a program that you liked a little bit more, and I think university and when we're younger, that's what it's all about, right? Trying to learn and grow and try things, and some things they it doesn't work out, and some things it does, right? And I think you being away from home and living in residence too, that was a whole experience in itself, right? And being able to find yourself and what you want to do and do well in school, but also have a positive impact on the Laurentian community. I think that's super, super admirable, right? And it's a big undertaking for a student. Like you're living away from home, you're switching programs. You got to make sure that you pass all your classes, but you're also doing a big project, and then organizing volunteers and having a good team around you, right? Because you can't do it all by yourself. You need a good supporting team around you to be able to help you succeed, right? And I think
Sure.
like all that is such a learning experience in itself, right? It's more than just academics. It's about like learning what you want to do and how you want to do it. And there's things that happen in life that kind of knock you down, but you don't stay down. You get back up and you keep going.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Ultimately, I came to slowly realize, and then it crept up pretty quick towards my end of my time at Laurentian. And I was able to do 5 years because I had switched again into another program too. So I, I know the jokes still with my friends are saying like, has he ever decided what he wanted to do? And I think the answer is always going to be no, um, but yeah, I switched again, and then so I had an extra year, which gave me a bit more time with Lucert, a bit more time in res. I got to be a PM and an RA in res, which was awesome too, and that further connected me with the amazing people that I know today. But unfortunately, depending on how you look at it, um, I quickly came to realize that my academics were not for me at that time in my life, and I was close enough to finishing my degree, and then having switched into geography as my kind of my last kick at the can. I just realized that I wasn't in it for the academics anymore, and I had learned or gotten a huge base of knowledge in other ways. So my friendships and the people that I've been able to meet and learn from and connect with, that was going to reach far further than academics would for me. And not that I wasn't interested in my program and I didn't learn something or I didn't enjoy it, but something wasn't sitting right. So I joke that I was definitely learning and therefore Lucert, and now I was paying money to be at school and running this program, but I think it paid off. And then I mean, probably one of the best decisions I made. And I remember listening to the podcast you had with Bull on it, and that brought back so many good memories. That res was probably the best choice I made in Laurentian, having stayed there my whole time, and just being a part of that. Because yeah, it was the people I met there were second to none, and being able to just, I mean, I still hang out with a lot of them now, and keep in touch, and got to be in my best friend's wedding, and those are the people that I had as my roommates. So it's all built from there, and yeah, it's kind of all culminated from Safe Walk to CERT to just the friendships that aren't going away at all.
And I think that's what school's all about too. Is more than just academics. It's the life experience. It's the friendships that you make. It's the bonds that will last forever. And even for me, like when I think about my buddies, like all my buddies are still my buddies from elementary school and high school, and I have some of them from Laurentian too, obviously. But it's all about surrounding yourself with the right people, right? And Laurentian, there's so many great people, and like there's so many great people that make that school what it is. It's more than just a school; it's an experience. It's and I think that's what's so great about Laurentian. And like going to like moving on to a little bit about your career now, like, because I think there's a common trend like when you started sort of to be able to help people and moving to your career now being a firefighter and a dispatcher, a paramedic dispatcher, and I just like the common trend for you is being able to serve others, right, and being there for others. And I think it's perfect for you because you have such a big heart and you care so much about others. And I wanted to kind of ask a little bit about like what made you pursue a career in firefighting and in paramedic communications and different things like that.
Yeah, definitely. You're spot on with having Lucert and all that kind of stuff. I was able to connect with a lot of paramedics up in Sudbury, and the dentist office that we shared an office with. She was just across the way from us. Her husband was a paramedic, and he came in Sudbury, and he came and did a presentation for us one night. And I mean, at one point I was like, oh, maybe I want to be a paramedic, and I'm definitely glad I did not choose that realm, but support those who did. And so, yeah, me and this gentleman, Rick, were able to kind of keep in touch and chat while he was picking up Cheryl, his wife, at the dentist office. And we kind of connected and got chatting about either me becoming a medic or looking into the communication side. And I didn't know if I was going to be staying in Sudbury at the time and maybe pursuing finding a place there to stay, or I don't even think at that point I really even knew if I was going to be going back to Laurentian for academic wise at that point too. But I kind of started knowing that was an option. And again, having my dad in firefighting already, it was, I knew I wanted to do something to do with that, whether that was going to be in Sudbury, Parry Sound, back down in the city. I just wanted to do something like that, I guess. And I had been living in Parry Sound for, I guess, yeah, since I was 16, working as an outdoor guide prior to that. And I was still going back to that in the summer. And then I slowly started doing some research, and I guess, yeah, kind of being a nerd about the whole emergency services realm and figuring out how it works in this area here, and just started emailing people. I really do take a lot from what I learned at Laurentian. You just got to ask, you got to put yourself out there. So what's the worst that they're going to say is they're going to ignore my email, and then I'm in the exact same spot as where I am now, or they'll give me some information, point me in a different direction, or say yes, right? So I chatted with some fire chiefs and stuff in the area here, and just asked, like, how are you guys dispatched? How does it work? Is there an opportunity for employment that way? And there ended up kind of one thing led to another very quickly, that they're dispatched. The fire department, at least in Parry Sound, is dispatched by the ambulance communication service in Parry Sound as well. And then he connected me with the manager at the time there, and I just asked for a tour. And again, maybe that was because I was just a nerd and interested in it, or maybe I was maybe it meant to be, and I just kind of knew that I wanted to pursue a career in that. And I think within a matter of probably like less than a week, I was inside the dispatch center and getting a tour from the manager and meeting some of who people who are now my colleagues. And yeah, and again at that point too, like they are all saying, "Hey, we are hiring, by the way." And I think I emailed them right when I got home after I got my little tour of seeing like, oh, this thing's pretty cool, and those are pretty cool people. So I wanted to pursue it even more, and they sent me or I found an application somehow and applied, and then again, like next thing you know, I was being asked if I could come in for an interview, and there's some testing and stuff like that. But the hard part at that point was I was leaving my job, my pretty much my first real job as a student, and then my family at White Squall Paddling Center as a guide out just outside of Parry Sound. So that was a big shift again for me. So I remember kind of sitting down with my boss and saying like, this is something I feel like I really want to do, and it might mean that I'm not here as much in the summer as I promised you. And I was afraid of what his reaction would be, because we were just entering the busy time, and there still weren't as many of the summer students that like the high school students and other people weren't around yet. But I was met with nothing but encouragement and stuff like that. So we sat down and said I would be silly to not pursue it, and I had his full support, which I think we were both tearing up at that point, because it was a huge turning point in my life. It was a leap of faith, and there's no better people to have it than those the two owners of White Skull, my bosses, and they've supported me through that whole time. So that really, I guess, solidified the fact that yes, I need to do this and I want to do this. So I had their blessing, and then again, I'm not lying. It seemed like a crazy quick process. That it was another couple weeks, and I was hired and sitting as a new trainee, shadowing, and I wasn't able to touch anything, and I just had to sit down and kind of do some coursework. And then the silver lining in all this too is I got to come back up to Laurentian, or got back up to Sudbury, sorry, to do my training. So I was in Sudbury for 2 months, in a hotel just by the Four Corners, and everybody, there was a couple of people getting hired from Sudbury there, but a couple of people who had no idea but where they were and where things were. But I was able to feel at home again, and so everything kind of came back together at the right time, which is awesome, because I was pretty afraid of leaving Laurentian and didn't really know what others would think of me if I didn't get a degree, right? I think we're all like led to believe that academics is it, especially in high school. You're trying to just get through grade 12 and earn all the credits you can, and eventually get a degree or a diploma in some regard. But I was learning that was not everything, and I brought everything with me that I had, friendships and connections and relationships and stuff like that, and just who I became from my time at Laurentian, my time in Sudbury, Parry Sound, and it was all coming to a point where that was supporting me through this kind of career post-education field that I was finding myself in. And so yeah, I was able to pass the program, the dispatch training program, and then I was actually around September, I don't know what date, September 9th today, September 6th, 2018, I was sitting on the floor taking my first 911 calls, and that would have been 7 years ago or so. So that's that was a big step, and I still can't believe sometimes that it worked out like that, but it did, and I'm super happy. But I definitely would not be here without the support that I had. So yeah, it's great.
It definitely comes full circle, right? And I think, like you said, it's all about kind of support. But when you were talking, it made me smile, because when you said that you wanted to maybe do a dispatcher, like you wanted to be the dispatcher, so you did it. You took the initiative and you took the tour, right? And I think that that's such a valuable lesson for anyone. Like if you really want to do something in life, take initiative and find ways to create your own opportunities, right? And that's what you did. You didn't sit around. You emailed, and you talked to whoever you could. You used your connections that you made, and you worked your way up, right? And you made your own opportunities. And I think that's so admirable, and that's something that that's a little bit of piece of advice that everyone should take, right? And if you really want to do something, and if one opportunity closes with you with school, but like you opened another door and you made the most out of that opportunity, right? And you were able to take a tour and meet your now colleagues, and it kind of comes full circle. Like you don't know what's gonna happen, who you're gonna meet, how that opportunity will present itself. And for you, what's admirable is you took that opportunity and you made the most out of it, and now look where you are right now, right? And being able to do that, helping others, like, well, is there like for being what you're doing right now, is there like a moment or something that is there a moment that really stands out that you think like that you've had like an impact on someone's life, and that really resonates with you?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think that we all talking to my colleagues kind of recently about why we're in the job and stuff. And I know it sounds super cliche, but I think it's all deep down we want to help people, because it's definitely not sitting in a
Yeah,
chair for 12 hours behind a computer screen. But it's yeah, I guess we all, every time that we have to do our job, there's someone who considers themselves in trouble or something's not right that they want to call and and get checked out. And I mean, complete transparency. There's times where maybe the call wasn't something I would have to call for. I would think it was an emergency, but everybody's got their own perspective and way of dealing with things. So I'd like to think that every time we answer the phone and get someone an ambulance, or we also dispatch to the fire department as well, that we're just giving some people a bit of security and a bit of safety in a moment that things are unsure, and they're not really sure what to do. So that's who they call, and that's the exact reason that we're there. So I don't know if there's an exact moment or instance that I can think of that I've made an impact on someone's life. But I like to say that I've done something or done even a small little fraction of getting that person help, and that's ultimately why we're there. It's the first access point to some care, medical or emergency, whatever, however you describe it. But it's yeah. So again, I don't want to sound cliche, but every day I guess we have a time where we're helping somebody's life. There's some obviously definitely some more serious and traumatic ones that come to mind, but there's also the ones that someone just needs someone to talk to and just having a bad day, and we connect them with that, and hopefully at least make that day better, if not days to come, and give them some resources to be able to chat with, and connect them with a bunch of other great people that can help them navigate whatever issue they're facing. So that's that's kind of a
I
broad
think
answer,
I think
but
you know you said it's a broad answer, but I think it's a perfect answer because I think every day everyone has the opportunity to have an impact on others, right? And being able to be of service to someone, like them calling you in distress, whatever the situation is. It might not be a serious situation for most people, but it's a serious situation for them. And for you to be on the other line and help them through that difficult situation, I think it's very, very special, right? And you having that expertise and that character to be able to walk people through and make them feel comfortable and make them feel at ease. I think that's very that not everyone can do that, right? And I think it takes a really, really special person. I think you're the perfect guy for the job to be able to do that, and being able to have people call and feel comfortable enough to share, and it might even be very, very serious situations that it's a very traumatic event going on in their life, and you're there to help them through. So I think that's super, super cool. And like you said, every day is an opportunity to help people. I think that you said it's a broad answer, but I think it was the perfect answer. But I also wanted
all right.
to talk a little bit about like your volunteer firefighting, and like what I know it might not be busy every single day, but what is like a day to day your day to day life, like maybe walk us through something like that, or like what happens if there's a call, and I want to talk a little bit about the firefighting volunteer experience.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, definitely far off from the full-time guys. And I know you know some of Dylan and all that kind of stuff who are doing it full-time now and rocking that. But yeah, it's totally different than a professional or career firefighter. But yeah, I mean, I'm fortunate enough to work for or volunteer for a department that's not actually where I live. So it's pretty, it's about 15 minutes away or so, or maybe a little less than that, 10, 15. But I had to, again, back to the connections and the relationships that we've built throughout our careers and lives and stuff. When I was at White Squall, I managed to connect with the Carling Township Fire Chief, Gord, and kind of just more professional wise of just needing connections, helping them out here and there, and them helping us out with some events. And then I knew I always wanted to do that. I didn't even have a car at the time when I first started pursuing it, so that was an obstacle. But eventually I was able to get my first car, and then I connected with Gord saying, like, is this an option? I know I don't live in Carling, but some people had encouraged me to try anyway, and I did. Again, back to that, worst they can say is no. And I had some other options, but I knew I really liked the area. I knew a lot of people in there. That's where my lifestyle up here started, was with White Squall out in Carling. So I had a connection, and that was kind of what I wanted to do. So I was able to get on there and do some training with them and become a firefighter. And again, just like everything else, it seems to be like you just kind of look back and you say, whoa, that was however many years ago. So that was 6 years ago now that I've been a firefighter, and recently promoted to a captain, which is awesome. And so that's a big thing, especially the respect of getting the respect of the department and the chief there. That means a ton to me. But yeah, I guess a day-to-day thing is sometimes the days there's nothing, and you're sitting there, and other days it's busier than you think. Even though you're a volunteer, you're still doing the exact same things as a career firefighter, I guess, when the radio goes off. So we carry radios around, and I'm just going about my daily life at the store or at home, or I mean, I don't have my radio on right now, but tones could drop at any point, and we got to go out there. So, but we have a pretty unique area here, which is that we have a lot of access to the water, and then up the highway as well, where there's actually no fire department to cover that area. So we have an agreement that we run up the highway a bit farther, and then another department does the same north of us and back into their area. So we get quite a diverse amount of calls, which is really cool. It's not it's not the same call every time. And we have Killbear Provincial Park in our area too. I don't know if you've heard of that. It's a pretty busy park. It's a pretty big park. In the summer, there's 10,000 plus people in that area. So it's bigger than the town that I live in right now, and definitely bigger than the township's population that it's in. So we're always going into there for medicals or for alarms or for people in distress that way. So I guess I signed on as a dispatcher and having that separation from being on scene, but then I pursued the fire department stuff because I still wanted just a bit of action on like hands-on action and being boots on the ground that way. So that was my compromise to myself, I guess. And yeah, I love it.
It's kind of like the best of both worlds, because you get a little bit of the action, but you get on the other side of all the calls too. That you ever, like, when you work, does it ever overlap? Like you hear the calls that your firefighting crew is going to. Yeah,
definitely. I'm lucky enough. I don't know if some people want to call it that. I'm lucky enough to dispatch my own department. So yeah, if I go to one, I've gone to a call, and then it's been continuing on, and I have to go to work, and I'm the one talking to them on the radio after I get to work and sit down. And so it's kind of an interesting perspective back and forth between that, and it's gone the other way. I've dispatched calls and then immediately left work and just gone straight out there to a call and stuff like that. And it definitely helps. I think it's a nice perspective to be able to get some more information and kind of to have that approach to it. But no, it's great. I think they both play into each other quite well.
And I was just gonna add on to that too. Is like you said, they both add on to it well, but you got both perspectives, so you can think of things differently too, rather than like your coworker that's just a firefighter. They might not know that certain thing, or think of it this way or that way, which is, I think it helps in the long run.
For sure, and it's yeah, it's a bit more information, and like even just the other day we had some technical issues, so I had a bit more of a perspective on what's going on at the scene, and we had some technical issues getting through back and forth communication wise, went down for a bit, so some workarounds and stuff that I knew kind of worked, but I was just thinking on your feet. But I even feel weird saying that because it's definitely a team effort, but you're just adding a bit more, just adding options at that point, just to say, well, this might work. Why don't we try that? And if it does, great. If it doesn't, let's move on to the next one and whatever someone else brings to the table, and we work through it. But it's enjoyable. I'll say that. Like, it's a fun challenge. There's always a challenge each day that it's, how are we going to get through this? It's almost like a little puzzle, and you got to complete it in certain ways, but there's other ways you can just add your own flair.
And I think that's what it's all about, working through it, right? You guys are a team, and that's why I love, like, if I would be able to physically, I think that's what I would love to do, is be a firefighter. I think the camaraderie, I think growing up in sports and being such a sports fan and being involved with all my buddies' hockey teams and my brother as well, and I think the camaraderie of being part of the team and going into battle, so to say, and helping others, I think that's the coolest thing. And being able to hang out at the station and building more of those friendships, right? And having each other's back and being there for one another, and completing something as a cohesive unit. I think that's something super, super special.
Yeah, there's a whole wide range of age groups and demographics and professions, current and past, retired guys from their normal everyday life, and they've joined the fire department. So it's brought a pretty diverse bunch into that department, which is awesome. And just a great group of men and women that I get to work with is it's awesome. I feel very, very lucky to be a part of that.
Oh, for sure. And what I wanted to ask too is like, what advice would you give like a young person like that wants to pursue firefighting or emergency response or like ambulance communications? Like, what would be your number one piece of advice for someone looking into a similar career like you?
Yeah, I mean, I think we've touched on it a few times. You brought it up there. It's just, don't take no for an answer. And kind of circling back to the whole, where we learned that a degree is pretty much everything, and that's what you need to fit into. And we have those templates that everybody eventually falls into, but it's totally different than that. And if I just accepted that approach and just said I'm going to fall into this and do this, then I would be missing out on a lot of stuff that I wanted to do personally. So, I mean, anybody interested, just email, talk to your local fire chief, even if it's not a place that, like, I mean, I grew up down in Whitby and Durham region. If I didn't have my dad as a firefighter and I wanted to just go and knock on the fire station door and just ask some questions, I'm sure that would have helped me a ton too. So just ask, just go in and make that connection, introduce yourself, and ultimately, if it doesn't become anything that you do full time, at least you have a bit more information and even a small step forward in the right direction. And yeah, don't take no for an answer, for sure, and ask around.
Don't take no for an answer, and put yourself out there, and that's something that you always do. And I wanted to touch on the search and rescue team that you're part of. I have a hard time pronouncing it. Bimaajitoon, is it? Did I say it right? But
close. Yeah, you're not the only one. Bimaajitoon.
Say it again. Sorry.
Yeah, Bimaajitoon. It's an Bimaajitoon. Okay. It's a difficult word to say. I'm not grading you on it. Don't you worry. It's an Ojibwe word for to help or to save.
Oh, okay.
We have a lot of First Nations in the area that we got the blessing from to be able to use that word, and it's just had a bit more of a connection to the local communities here.
And so,
Unfortunately, it comes with a bit of a hard pronunciation.
But now that we know, which is awesome. But what inspired you to be part of that search and rescue team?
Yeah, I definitely can't take credit for starting it up. I was on the kind of the founding members, but my fire chief at the time and currently Gord saw a need for it in the area. There was no volunteer initiative that offered that service to the community. Normally, and it still is mainly led by the OPP and the police services in the area. It's kind of falls onto them, but he was finding that it took a lot away from the fire departments in the area, because if you don't have a dedicated search and rescue response, who else are you going to call? So that like the OPP and other people were calling the fire departments, taking them away from fighting fires or helping with medicals or something like that. And not that we still don't work with them, but they don't have the training that I guess the intensive training or the more specific training that we are able to have and get. So it just kind of started, again, it sounds like a broken record here, but it started a lot like it did with CERT and a lot with Safe Walk and stuff like that. It all started very slowly, and you just had to start kind of putting yourself out there and asking questions, and we were able to get it somewhat put together. And then unfortunately COVID happened. I know I'm not the only one who faced a lot of slowdowns and stoppages from COVID and the pandemic, but it put a huge damper on us getting training and just becoming active as a team. So once we were through that, now it's almost like a full-time job, being just the administrative and training side, and the background is quite big. So I was able to move into the operations manager role for the team. So from the operational side, I'm the one who's running the show and kind of directing the volunteers and the searchers, and then they do the amazing work on the ground and stuff like that. So it's again, full-time job between fire dispatch and search and rescue, but I wouldn't have it any other way. And my friends and my partner joke, and she's always saying, "Oh, what are you doing today?" Because she knows it's something to do with one of the three, and unfortunately she's not wrong. But I don't sit still well, so it helps me get through the weeks knowing that there's something fun to be able to do that way.
You're just a busybody, which is awesome, and I think it's all there. It's like you're having 3 full-time jobs and just one person, you know. But I think that it just goes to the good that you have. But I wanted to touch a little bit on that too. What would be one example of like an impact that the search and rescue team has done on the community, like an example of something like something that was able to help in a tremendous way?
Yeah, I guess in terms of our role in the whole thing is there's varying degrees, I guess, when we would be called out in terms of a timeline. Sometimes it's quite quickly if it's a child missing or someone who we have a more information on where they are, and we can move on it a little bit quicker. But sometimes it also means that we're getting called out a day or two into the search, and that OPP needed just a bit more resources to spread out more areas and relieve some of their team there as well. So sometimes it means that we're not expecting to find somebody who is alive still, and just having that perspective on that is it's okay. And you kind of have to think about it more that we are still doing a part. Search and rescue doesn't always mean that someone's coming back alive and well, but giving the family a bit of closure and some peace of mind to kind of tie up loose ends and know where they are and just able to have that person back, even if it's not in the same form they went out. Our very first call out with search and rescue was for a child, unfortunately, and again, back to the full circle thing. I was the one working in dispatch at the time when we got the call, so we sent the resources out there. It was on an island. You can see it pretty much right in front of me out here, out in just out of Parry Sound, and responded with the fire department right after work, and then eventually got the search and rescue team going out there. So our members were out till I think 4 a.m. the first night, and then back early the next morning as well. But it was an unfortunate outcome for the family and the child. But just despite the amount of grief and I couldn't even imagine what they were feeling, but how thankful the family was in that moment, and just to have, knowing that everything was being done to the best of our ability, and just in whatever resource that we could. Police, fire, ambulance, search and rescue, Coast Guards, there's a bunch of different resources involved, and everybody was just out with the common goal of helping this family. And ultimately that's what we did, and gave them a bit of closure, and they were very, very grateful. And they're the last people who needed to be thanking anybody and or interacting with anybody in general. It's all about them at that point now. But they were extremely grateful. And we've had a couple other instances in other searches that it's very much a similar response, just how thankful and how grateful those relatives, friends, family are for just a response to be able to happen. So it makes it all worthwhile when you just put even a slight smile or you just give a bit of a better feeling to someone involved. And if that's all you can do, then I think you've done a pretty decent job.
Yeah, and I think it's really admirable to be able to do that, because you don't know what situation you're going to, but in the grand scheme of things, if you're helping them in a difficult situation, like you said, it makes it all worth it, right? And having the validation of people being thankful and helping people in any way you can, I think that's how it is to serve others and to try to make the world a better place, and being the person that you are. Like, that's how you are. You're selfless. Everything you do, professionally and personally, you're always willing to help people and be there for one another and doing the best you can and putting yourself out there. And growing up, you've always kind of been like that. But I always ask people on this podcast, like, who are some of the people that kind of helped you, shaped you to who you are today?
Yeah, I always try to keep that list pretty relevant and and I always keep it close to myself at all times, because I'm very grateful on where I am and the opportunities that I've been able to have, and so that list is always in the back of my mind. But I mean, my parents gave me a great access to the outdoors and stuff like that growing up, and supported me and still support me in what I'm doing now. But when I moved up to Prairie Sound, meeting the people that I was able to meet, fortunate enough to meet, my boss at White Squall, both Tim and Kathy, are still very close friends of mine, and I still have so much respect for them, and they support me in everything I do. They're always asking what's up next, what's happening, and they're always so interested. They donate to the search and rescue team. They're just the greatest. I mean, a lot of us think of them as parents to up here as well, because they're just so supportive and awesome to be around, just awesome people to have in your life. So I owe a lot to them and just a lot of the folks at White Squall. But yeah, I guess my fire chief as well, who supported me in joining the fire department, and then the search and rescue realm as well, and taking a lot of notes from his leadership and how he just guides people, but in the probably the most friendliest way you'll ever see. And I mean, not to put you on the spot, man, but you and Bull and a lot of people at Laurentian too. Just like I said, it was a weird time, kind of jumping around a lot between programs and not really knowing what I wanted to do with my life, and be able to kind of hone it in, and just with that support that I had in the background from you and support and leaders like Bull and stuff like that. It was, so I owe a lot to that. But I mean, I know I've joked with you in the past. It's like, you've pretty much taken over my wardrobe. Everything I ever have, I almost had to put effort in not to wear stuff from you today. But everything is positive deception, and it's become if you're having a bad day for me, I just right on, and it's that much better. And I mean, even my friends too. Like, I know you, Holt, Haley, and Ben, and all them that. They're very similar. They have a lot of stuff with from your brand, and it's obviously it's behind a great person. So we all love that, but that's a huge part of my life, is just knowing that's something that has a connection with me. Like, I mean, you can wear Adidas and Nike and Carhartt and all that stuff, but you don't know the owner, you don't know the message that it really means. So that's what's really special to me. So, but it's a rare occasion to catch me without something that has your branding on it for sure.
Well, I appreciate that, and being able to hear that from someone that I look up to a tremendous amount in you, it truly means a lot. And I forgot to tell you when we first started, but I had a beard yesterday, and I was like, I gotta do the mustache to look like Jordan. So that's why I had the mustache.
The funny part is that when we first met at that awards thing, I think something tells me it was in November, so that's why I had a little tiny dirty stash, and I was told pretty much right afterwards, like, you got to get rid of that. It's not you. So that in that photo, if you zoom in, there is a little tiny bit of mustache in there, and then I was told that was probably one of the biggest things I wasn't supported in my life is lose the stash, don't do it. And then recently in November, shaved it. They're like, no, don't ever shave your mustache again. Keep your mustache. So I support it, man. Yours looks awesome.
Now it's a trademark.
I guess so. Yeah, I don't like it without it either.
You pull it off better than me, that's for sure. But
thanks, man.
I forgot to ask you about that because you mentioned. I want to go back a little bit, but you mentioned the White Squall Paddling Center, and a big part of you is the outdoors, and that's why you took ADVL at first, and you love the outdoors. And I wanted to kind of talk a little bit about that. I forgot to mention that, but I wanted to talk a little bit about how the outdoors kind of came about, and what was your passion for that, and growing up, and how like that's kind of shaped your life today.
Yeah. Grew up camping. It was probably the main thing. My parents were both very outdoorsy when I was growing up, so it was a kind of a natural thing to take me camping, like since I was literally a little baby. Coming up this way, coming up to more towards Sudbury and parks out near Ottawa and stuff like that we were able to go to, and we had a tent trailer, so just camping in that, and then slowly got into my mom wanted a kayak for her 50th birthday, so that brought us up this way while we were up at Killbear, and we just stopped at White Squall, not having any idea really what it was or what was happening with it. And I was super against kayaking because I was more of a canoer with my dad. That was something that me and him had, and I thought we were going to lose the whole canoe thing, and spoiler alert, we did definitely lose the whole canoe thing, but I was okay with it once it started rolling. But we came up here for a course at White Squall, just a basic paddling course, and they kind of taught you just the 101 for it. There was the strokes and how to turn, how to flip out of it safely and get out, and I just feel kind of comfortable in the boat. And then the next, I guess in the afternoon, we had a rescues clinic, so that was just how to help one another. If me and my parents were going out paddling, or a friend and me were going out paddling, just how to feel confident getting back in your boat or staying with your boat, at least if things turn and go sideways. But I think that was kind of the intro for me, and then I started taking a few more courses, and I got some certifications, I guess, from it too, and then started tripping with White Squall because they had some youth trips available. So I did 2 youth trips, and one of the guides on the one trip suggested that I apply, and actually another guy who I was tripping with at the time was also encouraged to apply. So we both did, and we both got hired. So at 16, I was dropped off up here in the summer, and after I had left school, I think I had a few days after high school, and I was able to come up here, and I lived with a family just outside of town for the first 2 years, and working quite a bit out at White Squall, being an instructor and a guide, and just working towards different certifications and training levels that I was able to teach a bunch of different canoe, kayaking, stand-up paddleboarding, and we did trips all around Georgian Bay and stuff like that. And we also did some retail stuff, and so I got to see a bit more of the sales side of things too, which was fun. But I definitely prefer the outdoors side to that. But yeah, it 100% gave me the access up here, obviously, but it just it was a huge stepping stone for me to become confident. And then Tim and Kathy were incredible supports in me pursuing my next steps. Whether, I mean, even if I didn't know what they were okay with that too, and they said that's totally fine. If you don't know, you don't know. No sense rushing it. And so I stayed with White Squall for quite a while. They've since downsized. They haven't shut down by any means, but they've downsized, and a bunch of us kind of found different pathways. But the joke I say is, once you're with White Squall, you're never without it. So I helped out a couple months ago. I was out there helping out, and I'll stop in probably sometime this week or next week, and it's just like a huge family. So that support network is always going to be there, and so I'm so grateful for that. But the love of outdoors just kind of culminated from that, and I thought, what a cool thing to do would be able to go to school for this. And a lot of my colleagues and my managers at the time had actually graduated from ADVL and stuff like that. So I was able to get some tips and tricks on what ADVL was like, and then I ultimately obviously changed my path. But outdoors have definitely still are still a huge part of my life. I don't get out as much as I want to, as I should. Like we were saying, now the local summer is when we should be getting out, but we got other things to have to do first before we can get out. But we have a camping trip coming up in Killarney in October with a bunch of friends and university buddies and stuff like that. So that's always such an exciting time to look forward to, and it's always a blast to get out. Even if it's the one time you get out, it's always so fun.
Camping in October, like, are you tenting?
Yeah, we started with White Squall has a hot tent. It has a little wood stove. It's an old like a big canvas tent. So we started with that, and we have brought just normal tents. But there's been times where it's been around 20, and it's almost too hot at night. And then there's been times where it's been snowing. So you never know what you're gonna get. But a warm fire and some hot chocolate or something like that, or hot cider, you make it through. It's the people. You got a group of 4 or 5 other people. They're freezing with you, so it's fun.
You're all in the misery together, and like I remember, like sometimes
I guess so.
Camping in the summertime, sometimes it's so cold at night. I can only imagine. In October. Jeez.
Yeah. Sometimes it's quite cold, and you don't want to be without a fire, but you don't get out of your sleeping bag to start the fire either. So it's you're gambling with both.
Yeah, and that's what it's all about too. Like when you think about your whole journey, but like even with like camping as a joking manner, but it's all about rolling with the punches, right? And like that, I think that's like one of your mottos for like showing up and putting yourself out there and rolling with the punches, and no matter what, always have a good attitude. And like you said, like when you go camping, if it's nice out, perfect. If it's not, if it's freezing, well, perfect. We're still camping, and you always have that positive outlook. I feel like, and with your jobs, you see so much stuff that probably no one should ever see or witness, and you always try to have a positive attitude. Like, what are some of your tips for like trying to balance it and always trying to stay positive and have a smile on your face? And because when you walk in a room, George, your presence lights up the room, and maybe what are some of the stuff that has helped you always stay positive, even though your job is very, very heavy sometimes?
Yeah, I think, I mean, again, I don't want to sound like a broken record, but the support network that you have in dispatch, if I'm working, there's always 2 other people working as well. And you have those people that you can turn to because they've heard similar stuff to you and handled similar experiences. It may not be the exact same, but they might have some insight and stuff like that, or just to talk about it and just have another voice listen that understands a bit more. But I think, like, for me, I definitely get inside my own head. I'm not saying it's super easy all the time, that even before this, I had this weird sense of nerves, but it's like I'm just talking to Ryan, like he's my buddy, and it's like the nerves are natural. You're gonna have that, or if you're going to a party or a dinner or some kind of get together, award ceremony, maybe like just like when we started to know each other, you have this weird anxiety, I guess you could call it, that I don't know how this is going to go. Maybe I don't want to go, and it could easily get overtaken by those thoughts of I don't think I'm right for this. Maybe I don't deserve this. Maybe someone's gonna like me, something like that. But I know at the same time that once I get there, I'm gonna have a good time, and it's knowing that feeling is stronger and more powerful, I guess, in the end than the other side that's telling you that no, you shouldn't go. But I guess to get through those hard times or just try to put a smile on your own face and walk into that room, it's by no means is it easy sometimes, and sometimes it is. Sometimes it's great. You have a lot of great things to share and good laughs, and you're going to have a great time no matter what. But other times it comes with that extra little obstacle that you got to overcome, and if you just push yourself and then you kind of find some common ground with somebody, or you make jokes, or you have this thing that just allows the mood to change or kind of lessen, it's that really gets me through. It's just knowing that it's all going to be okay in the end, and tomorrow's a new day if things are really going south for the whole day. But and I think just admitting that if you're not okay, I'd be lying to say if there were days where you just had to step out and cry, and that's totally fine. And you have those days. I think it's going to be, speaks more to you as a person if you admit that, and that you just have those moments to yourself, or again, even in a group, that it's okay to not be okay. I know that might sound cliche, but it's a lot of what a lot of folks are saying now, but it totally is. Like, you can just have a moment where you need to be human. Every human has emotions, and even if you don't want to admit it, that sometimes you just got to be able to have a cry here and there, and that's totally fine. It's we'll gather our thoughts, reset, and see where it gets us from there. And I wouldn't be where I am and be able to have those moments if I didn't have the friends and the family and the support I do that way. And again, just being able to throw on some positive listen to some good music on full blast on the way home from work, or put on some headphones and have a beer or have a coffee, or just relax. And it's that disconnect and just gather your thoughts and be able to prepare for the next thing. And it's everybody has their own thing. Just kind of disconnect for a bit, and we'll gather our thoughts then and take what we need from it and put away what we don't at a point. Not to lock them up and suppress them, but sometimes it just needs to be pushed to the side for now, and we'll go from there.
I think that is the perfect answer. And when you said that you're nervous when doing this, and I laugh because every time I do this podcast, I always get so nervous. And I don't know, because there are people that I look up to a tremendous amount. And if I'd hang out with them one-on-one, I would never be nervous, And I don't know, I shouldn't. I think we're nervous because we care a lot. We want to do a good job. But I think this is what this podcast is all about, kind of promoting good people, good-hearted people doing great things. And that's why I wanted you on this podcast. And I think the last question I have, and when I started this thing, I wanted to have a good question at the end. And I don't know if this is a good question, but I wanted to ask, how do you want to inspire the new generation of good-hearted people, due to the fact that you're such a good-hearted person?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question, but it's hard to answer for sure. I think a lot of when I was growing up, school, I had an opportunity to go to a camp run by the school just for a weekend, and I remember we all had to write notes to each other and stuff like that and put it away. And it's just kind of I know people call them warm and fuzzies and stuff like that, but you put it in an envelope and you get to read them later on. And I'm sure I have that envelope somewhere, but it's just some feel good things to turn to when you needed it. But the camp counselor at the time that was in charge of us, I remember he wrote down keep rocking the change. And I think we all see quotes on Instagram, on Facebook, and everybody can quote anything, and it can kind of get lost in the mix. But that one always stuck with me somehow. And it's like, keep rocking the change stuck with me. And we have each other on Instagram, and I always should reach out to this guy and just tell him how much that stuck with me and how much that meant. But yeah, I guess I kind of always try to remember that quote, and there's probably many other ones similar to it that I've heard that I carry with me. But it's like, that's what's stuck with me. So trying to live like that and be an example to people who, I don't know, we just got a new hire in dispatch, so trying to share some of my knowledge and my experience with him, and he'll have his own ways of navigating that. But if I can share a bit of insight on how it was for me, maybe that would be useful, and just being willing, I guess, the one side of trying to take no for an answer and not taking no for an answer rather, and just putting yourself out there. You have to be met by that too. So if I'm going to be encouraging people to really push themselves and put themselves out there and make those connections, I want to be someone who's allowing those connections to happen too. So you could definitely get met by a stone wall. We've all been there, where you try to put yourself out there and you're met with no's, or you met with maybe some people aren't super happy that day, and whatever, that's okay. But it can take you down a notch, especially when you are putting a lot of effort into getting out there. So I want to try to be available to people and try to be open to people to help them. Like, you can't forget where you came from, and if I can be a little bit of a light at the end of the tunnel, or if I can be that shoulder to cry on, or just that person to ask a question to, I always try to be someone who's available with that. And I really appreciate when people are like that for me. To bring back that quote, keep rocking the change. It's like, you gotta be a part of it if you're the one trying to seek it, or the one trying to you're involved in some regard. You got to be able to help with that process. So that's definitely a good question, but I don't know if that's the best answer, but yeah.
Oh, it's the best answer for sure, and you killed this. And I think there's so many nuggets of wisdom for people listening, and I think the reason why it's such a good answer is because you're doing that. You are rocking the change. You are being a positive change to everyone that you meet, and I think that's the perfect answer, and that's the perfect way to end this. So thanks, George, for taking the time and for being exactly who you are, and for having such a positive impact, not only on your community, but everyone you meet. And you're truly a special person and such a great friend to me. So I appreciate you so much.
Oh, man. Well, thank you so much for having me on this.